This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen Gipp, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
It's Friday, August 15th, 2025, and here are today's stories. Are 3D printed guns a ticking time bomb or just overblown media hype? We're diving into the debate that's got lawmakers, gun owners, and online creators fired up and asking what the real threat is. The EU banned certain pesticides years ago, but they're still showing up in farming. So who's at fault? Rogue suppliers, overwhelmed regulators, or desperate farmers? And what does that mean for the food on your plate? Just outside Cairo, the skyline is changing fast. UNN Field Messenger Rebecca takes us inside Egypt's construction boom and the new neighborhoods rising beyond the capital's edges. In the heart of South Australia, we're headed underground, literally. Field Messenger Calen explores Cooper Pedy, an opal mining town where the homes are as hidden as the gems. South Korea now has the lowest birth rate in the world, and it's not just a number. It's reshaping the country's economy and society. So why are so many choosing not to have kids? And finally, we visit the breathtaking Snoqualmie Falls, more than just a scenic spot. UNN Field Messenger Lawrence shares the deep spiritual meaning this site holds for the Snoqualmie tribe.
In recent years, the topic of 3D printed guns has sparked heated debates across the internet, in the media, and within government circles. To some, these ghost guns represent a terrifying loophole in firearm regulation. To others, they're overhyped and misunderstood. So what's actually true? Are we facing a new wave of dangerous DIY firearms, or is this mostly a case of fear, panic, and media hype?
3D printed guns are firearms or firearm components made using 3D printers, often with plastic or metal materials. They can be made at home using blueprints downloaded online. No serial number, no background check, and often no trace. That's where the term ghost gun comes from. They essentially disappear from standard regulatory systems. Some versions are fully 3D printed, while others rely on a mix of printed and traditional metal parts, which can easily be ordered online. They're often single-shot weapons, though more complex models exist. Critics argue since these guns can be made anonymously and aren't tracked, they could fall into the hands of people who wouldn't pass a background check. That includes criminals, minors, and those with mental health restrictions. And since they're untraceable, they could make it harder for law enforcement to investigate crimes involving firearms.
Queanbeyan, New South Wales. Police bust a major alleged backyard gun manufacturing ring, seizing more than $100,000 in cash and homemade firearms across several properties.
This organised crime syndicate definitely had the capability of privately manufacturing multiple firearms.
Experts say the raid is just the tip of the iceberg. In garages around the country, criminals are printing pistols, rifles, and even semi-automatics at mass scale, flooding the black market with untraceable weapons like this one. The ammo he's loading, it's 3D printed. The barrel he's firing out of, that's 3D printed too. Everything is DIY, nothing is regulated, and the total cost? Less than $100 US.
If you just want the base grade model, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 for the printer and a few $100s for the materials.
The first 3D firearm was printed back in 2013, but major tech advances mean ghost guns are now often indistinguishable from traditional weapons.
This trend is alarming for law enforcement.
3D printed guns are a global phenomenon. Blueprints can be downloaded anywhere, and people have reported cases from Europe to Australia, Canada, and parts of Asia. However, the United States remains the epicenter of 3D printed gun production and use. According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, known as ATF, law enforcement recovered nearly 27,500 ghost guns in 2023 alone, up from just over 1,600 in 2017. That's a massive spike, more than a 1,500% increase over 6 years. In total, from 2017 to 2023, about 92,700 of these untraceable, privately made firearms were recovered across the U.S. The ATF says around 1,700 of those were linked to homicides, and another 4,000 were connected to other violent crimes, like assaults and robberies. Those numbers might sound alarming, but it's important to keep some context in mind. The stats don't tell us who is actually using these ghost guns. We don't know how many were tied to coordinated criminal networks versus one-off cases. That lack of detail makes it harder to understand the full scope of the threat and whether public fear is fully justified or driven by headlines. Like the case last year involving the alleged shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Authorities say the suspect was carrying a 3D printed receiver and suppressor, and shell casings at the scene matched the gun allegedly found in the suspect's backpack. There was a lot of media hype around it, but nothing was proven to be true, which begs the question, how easy is it to put one of these 3D printed guns together?
This is the Liberator, the first 3D printed gun created by Cody Wilson in 2013. 3D printing technology has come a long way since then, and so have the guns. Sometimes made entirely from plastic and just a few metal parts, today's 3D printed guns can look and feel like factory-made weapons.
We have looked at our options and decided to print a Glock 19. So this will be our Ghost Glock. All right. We've got our gun frame on this little card here. Now we're going to put it in the printer and make it happen.
16 hours later, we'll come back. So you can see we're 5 minutes in and 0% of the layers.
It's wild that this becomes a firearm. Still wrapping my head around that a little bit. Hey, Rob, it's day 2. It's been about 18 hours of printing later, and we have what looks more or less like the frame of a gun.
There's a frame of a firearm inside of there with the supports, and of course on that raft we did for adhesion. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a clean print. It even has, your text on the side.
In order to turn a 3D printed piece of plastic into a gun, we need metal parts.
You need the metal parts. Technically, could you build one out of all plastic? Yes. Is it going to be reliable and awesome? Probably not.
Okay.
Right.
These are about $320 worth of parts that we ordered off of the internet, delivered here to assemble this into a gun. We just made a ghost gun. We're roughly 4.5 hours from picking up the plastic off the printer and assembling all of the bits and pieces.
I am genuinely curious. I mean, just from a standpoint of the hype, if you will, right? The politician, the rhetoric around ghost guns. Is this the easy path to guns?
It is not easy. This is quite a process that without your expertise and tools, I would have been lost.
In the U.S., making a 3D printed gun for personal use is technically legal under federal law, as long as you're allowed to own a firearm. But once you try to sell it, distribute it, or skip a serial number, you're in illegal territory. In 2022, the ATF cracked down by requiring background checks and serial numbers for ghost gun kits, and the Supreme Court upheld that rule in 2025. Most countries outside the U.S. have much tougher laws on 3D printed guns. Places like Australia, Canada, and much of Europe ban home manufacturing of firearms without a license. The UK prosecutes people even for possessing 3D printed gun parts. And Japan jailed someone in 2014 just for printing parts at home. Simply having the components can be a serious crime in many countries.
So one of the biggest concerns people have when it comes to 3D printed firearms is that they're not well regulated, meaning anyone can buy a 3D printer, download some files, and order the rest of the parts online and build their own firearm from their own home. Now, obviously, people have been building their own firearms for as long as firearms have existed. This isn't something new, nor was it illegal in some states up until recent years. Now, some lawmakers suggest that we need required background checks in order to purchase a 3D printer. Others say to just outright prohibit the files to be posted online. But my whole question to all this is, when does it stop? When the next shooter makes a gun out of a stapler, are staplers now illegal? Or when, say, someone makes a gun using a metal pipe, are we just not allowed to go into Home Depot anymore? It just seems like a never-ending battle of getting rid of anything that could be used to create a weapon, which, when you think about it, there's a lot of things that can be used to create a firearm.
So, are 3D printed guns the next big threat? The truth is somewhere in the middle. While these weapons are real, growing in number, and present unique challenges for law enforcement, they're still a relatively small part of the overall gun landscape. The hype often outpaces the reality, especially when media coverage jumps ahead of confirmed facts. But that doesn't mean we should ignore the issue. As technology evolves, so should our understanding of how to balance safety, innovation, and individual rights. The European Union has banned certain pesticides for years due to their risks, but illegal pesticides still find their way onto farms. While authorities try to stop this, it raises questions about who really pays the price. Farmers trying to stay competitive, consumers unknowingly eating the produce, or the environment. It's a tricky situation where everyone claims they follow the rules, yet the game feels rigged.
Rising costs are pushing some farmers, particularly in Greece, to turn to cheaper illegal alternatives. These banned pesticides are smuggled in from places like Bulgaria and Turkey, often hidden in car tires or even smuggled on rafts. For farmers, the appeal is clear. These pesticides work better and cost less, especially since pesticides are one of their biggest expenses. To avoid getting caught, they often spray their crops at night, pay in cash, and burn the empty containers. And while Bulgarian authorities are cracking down, Greek police admit the trade is so organized, it's tough to stop without insider tips.
Is a secret. People will not easily tell you from where they are getting their supply. If you want to get it, you will find it. All pesticides have consequences, and most of us farmers here, no one follows the guidance. To wear masks, to wear the proper attire. There are consequences. There's prostate cancer, lung cancer. I am afraid.
So for a farmer to survive, does he have to become a criminal? Does he have to be illegal and have the state chasing after him? I don't understand, and it makes me angry. It is not logical to have to force farmers to try and find cheaper pesticides so they can survive.
This isn't just a Greek problem. Banned and counterfeit pesticide use is on the rise across the EU, now at 14% compared to 10% in 2015. In parts of Greece, it's as high as 25%, according to industry data. In 2022, Europol seized a record 2,040 tons of illegal pesticides, 4 times more than in 2019. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, as much of the smuggling goes unnoticed, say authorities in Greece, France, Germany, and Spain. The impact of these illicit pesticides is starting to show in troubling ways. For example, in Western France, traces of pesticides, some banned for decades, were found in the hair and urine of children living near farming areas.
People there have actually been quite concerned since 2018. That year, the local university hospital of Poitiers sounded the alarm, observing an increase in the number of pediatric cases of cancer, as you said. And since 2008, there's been 15 cases of pediatric cancers. That's more than 4 times more than the average expected compared to the population of that area. And for years, they've been asking for a formal investigation to determine the origins of those pediatric cancers. And of course, it's a farming land, so very quickly, all the doubts turn to the use and the spraying of pesticides on the crops. And every year they have this march where they ask for the government to really lay out a plan to phase out synthetic pesticides. And they haven't been heard in the last 5 years. So this year they decided to take matters into their own hands, and they created what we call a citizen study. So they collected samples on 72 children aged 3 to 17, all of which live in the 6 municipalities of the Honest Plain. And they found, at least in the urine, 14 different molecules, substances, if you will, and an average of 2 molecules per child, but in some cases it went up to 6.
The pesticide situation is a total mess, and the irony is hard to miss. According to human rights organizations, loopholes in EU pesticide policies allow companies like Bayer and Syngenta to produce toxic chemicals in the EU, as long as they're exported to countries with weaker regulations. In other words, while the EU bans these chemicals at home, it's okay to risk the health and environment of others.
This chemical is banned, but it's still on your plate. How can a banned poison still end up in your food? Well, it sounds unbelievable, but it's true. The EU bans dozens of toxic pesticides, yet European companies still manufacture and export them to countries with weaker regulations. And this is all perfectly legal, and we allow this. But then those same countries send us food grown with those banned substances. So even if it's illegal to use paraquat or chlorpyrifos or other ones, it's still legal to import the food grown with it. And this double standard endangers the health of farmers abroad, poisons ecosystems, and makes it impossible for local organic producers to compete fairly. Well, I think it is really time to stop exporting poison. We've got to find another way, and it all starts by talking about it. Talk to your neighbor. Every time you have lunch, just discuss it, because there's nothing more disgusting than these double standards.
Pesticides are costly for farmers, harm pollinators, birds, and aquatic life, aren't essential for good crop yields, and pose serious health risks to farmers and nearby communities. Plus, they pollute water for years. Despite this, the pesticide industry thrives, with Europe's sales hitting 12 billion euros in 2020, according to Pesticide Action Network. It's a frustrating reality that shows how often money wins out over what's right.
Tired before the day begins? NAD Plus levels drop 50% after 40. NAD Plus helps your cells bounce back fast. Most supplements give precursors. NAD Plus skips the breakdown, delivering direct, bioavailable power. Support your energy, metabolism, sleep, and stress levels at the cellular level. Join the NAD Plus revolution. Start your journey to a healthier you. Subscribe today.
Hello, I'm Susan from Sweden.
Mwanda Michael from Eastern Uganda, Africa.
Hi, I'm Tim from Vancouver, Canada.
I'm Titeshwar Fagao from Manipur State, India. I'm Agumba Obasi from Southeast Nigeria.
Arnaito Chakrini from Western Uganda, Mbarara.
At United Network News, you are the news.
My name's Christina, field messenger, report first one in the hurricane down here in Southern California from Mexico.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. At UNN, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Jason from United Network News. We're going to be doing some aircrete building with new technologies that allow us to live in comfort
and also off the grid.
Take the next step in changing the way the world gets the news. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
I am Michelle from South Africa, and we are the United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
If it is going to be, then it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
Si va a ser así, depende de mí. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN.
Just outside Cairo, Egypt, many new apartments and buildings are under construction. UNN Field Messenger Rebecca reports from this rapidly developing area, showing the city's expansion beyond its traditional limits.
Rebecca Azuz reporting for United Network News. I'm here in Cairo, Egypt, and I just wanted to share with you all the massive construction that's going on here. And as you can see in these videos, it just seems to go on and on and on. And every time that we travel from outside the city to inside the city, to downtown Cairo, it's literally as if we're just driving through an ocean of brand new buildings or apartment buildings, and no one lives inside them. They're just empty. There's no lights on, there's no electricity there, no windows inside the buildings yet, and it just seems to go on and on forever. Since 2000, Cairo decided to build a new Cairo, and that is going to be a city outside the city, because there's such a massive problem with traffic congestion, and all of the inner works of parliament and politics are actually set inside the old Cairo downtown, and they're all spread out. And as you can see at the end here, kind of sped up, I apologize, is that once you get into the old town Cairo, you can see how the people literally are just living on top of each other. Here we are in Old Cairo. Thanks for watching. This is Rebecca Azuz, Field Messenger, reporting for United Network News, signing off. Bye for now.
Today, we're exploring Coober Pedy, an opal mining town in South Australia. UNN Field Messenger Calen takes us underground to see a unique retreat and some incredible gems from the local mines. This is Field Messenger Calen, reporting to you from Coober Pedy, South Australia. Here at Coober Pedy, it can reach temperatures as high as 40 degrees Celsius. That is why it is good to know some cool places to stay, such as Dai's Dugout, an underground home. In this spacious home dugout, you will find it equipped with everything you need to keep cool and comfortable. With multiple bedrooms, bathrooms, and a kitchen, this dugout is the perfect place to stay when traveling to Coober Pedy. I met Dai on my travels here and found this dugout, and for the night I stayed, I told her that it was the best night of sleep I've probably ever had. Dugout really was a place to call home, and it was a very enjoyable place to stay and keep cool from the heat above the ground. Thank you, Dai. Also, here in Coober Pedy, you will find many different opal mines and stores. It was very interesting to learn about the history of the mining here, and to see all of the amazing tunnels and opals. There is so much to discover here at Coober Pedy, and I can definitely say I enjoyed my time here. This is an amazing place to visit in Australia, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys the desert heat or cool and comfortable underground homes. Thank you. I hope you all have an amazing day. This is Calen, Field Messenger, reporting for UNN.
Low birth rates, often called declining fertility rates, are a global issue. But South Korea takes the spotlight with the lowest rates ever recorded in any country. This alarming trend has far-reaching implications for the nation's economy, workforce, and social structure. This trend sparks big questions. Why are people choosing to have fewer children, or none at all?
Experts point to several factors behind this decline. The high cost of raising children, sky-high housing prices, and an ultra-competitive job market make starting a family feel next to impossible for many. Also, more young people are delaying or avoiding marriage altogether. South Korea's youth unemployment rate doesn't help either, with fewer young people entering the workforce. Even for those with high levels of education, landing a job is tough, as companies demand both lengthy qualifications and work experience. Hard to balance with South Korea's famously demanding education system. And for those who do find work, the 36-hour average work week leaves little room for work-life balance. For working mothers, the challenge doubles as they have to juggle careers, childcare, and household responsibilities.
When you're thinking about encouraging women to have children, you have to make it worth it for them. You have to make it a no-brainer. But I think that job prospects to begin with, the competition is extremely intense. And as I said, South Korea has the largest, gender disparity, especially at work. And so very few women are in leadership positions, for example, and there's also pay disparity. And so, women are working just as hard in schools, and they get to employment opportunities, and it's extremely limited. And to be able to advance their career is just way harder for women. And once they take maternity leave, it's also seen that you're not just working as hard as men. And so not all women are taking advantage of the maternity leave, and because they are afraid that that's going to set them back in their career.
Recognizing the crisis, South Korea has stepped in with policies aimed at boosting its birth rate. The government has rolled out cash payments for new parents, longer parental leave, flexible work schedules, and childcare subsidies. Cities like Seoul are trying to draw in young couples with family-friendly housing and job opportunities. There's even a creative twist, events designed to help single people meet potential partners. And there's been some progress. During the first 5 months of this year, South Korea recorded a 6.9% increase in birth rates, the largest rise since record-keeping began in 1981, according to the Statistics Agency. Experts attribute this boost to more women in their early 30s getting married, as marriage and childbirth remain closely linked in South Korean society.
Last year, only 230,000 babies were born in South Korea, and considering that we have a population of 51 million people, that's really not many babies at all. And in addition, South Korean women give birth for the first time at the average age of 33.6, and this is the highest among the OECD members. Back in 1960, Korean women on average had about 6 children. My own grandma had 5 kids herself, and that was just the norm back then. So what has changed so much in Korean society over the years to see this drastic change? A significant decrease in population actually has dire consequences. It means that we have an aging population overall, so the elderly people need more support than the young, and the size of the workforce is decreased, leading to a drop in tax revenues and an increase in government spending for welfare and healthcare for the elderly. And most people, when they're older, they have most of the things they need, a house, a car, and they're less likely to spend as much money as people in their 20s and 30s, which means less purchasing power for the country, and this in turn stops the country's economic momentum.
While the slight increase in birth rate is encouraging, the numbers don't tell the full story. Critics argue financial incentives alone aren't enough to fix the deeper issues. Long hours, work stress, and cultural pressures continue to make starting a family feel unappealing. The modest increase in births is a step in the right direction, but South Korea still faces the reality of having the world's lowest birth rate. The challenge is far from over.
Snoqualmie Falls, near Seattle, Washington, is a stunning waterfall sacred to the Snoqualmie tribe. It's seen as a place of healing and spiritual connection. UNN Field Messenger Lawrence explores this magical place.
Field Messenger Lawrence here with UNN. I'm here at Snoqualmie Falls. Just wanted to share this experience with y'all. Enjoy. Snoqualmie Falls, Washington State, USA. Magical place, man. Very magical place. Snoqualmie Falls is located near the town of Snoqualmie in King County, Washington. It's a 268-foot waterfall on the Snoqualmie River and is one of Washington's most popular scenic attractions, drawing over 1.5 million visitors annually. For the Snoqualmie tribe, the falls are a sacred site where they believe prayers are carried up by mist. Historically, the area was significant for spiritual practices, including vision quests and ceremonies. Modern development in the late 19th century, as European settlers expanded west, the falls became both a tourist attraction and an industrial resource. Originally built between 1898 and 1899, it is one of the world's first completely underground hydroelectric power plants. The powerhouse is located in a cavern carved 270 feet below the surface behind the waterfall. Built by Charles H. Baker, a Seattle engineer, originally designed to produce about 1.5 megawatts of electricity. Now, with its upgrades, it can produce 54 megawatts total. I hope you have enjoyed the beautiful scenery that I have shared with you. It is a very, very beautiful source creation that we get to share. And thank you for everything, and thank you, Care.
UNN is changing the face of news. Join us for our weekly Field Messenger meetings and learn how you can make a difference. Visit UnitedNetwork.earth for more information. Thanks for watching.